even read the book.
Nope.
It actually might
Judging
be really
it
good.
before. Don't care. It doesn't matter. It's stupid. It's a stupid gimmick to get everyone to buy comics that they don't need.
Hey everyone, it's Sleepy Reader, aka Damien, in my little reading nook here. This is the comic book countdown. Totally subjective, moody ranking of the comics, the new comics that I read this week, the ones that came out this past Wednesday. I got 7 this time around, kind of a very small haul for me, particularly since 2 of them were just sort of at the whim, on my whims, because there was nothing else that I really wanted. So really there were only 5 that came through, on my list of things to get, or my pull list. And it was kind of a so-so week at best in terms of the new comics. I read some other stuff this weekend that was really good after I finished reading these. And some of that I'll be chatting about. I think I'll be on the Sunday chat with Rasa and Terrence this weekend again, if they're doing it, if it works out, and then I'll probably miss the one afterwards next week because of a vacation. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. Let me start with number 7 on my list, the comic that thrilled me the least, and sadly, it was this Captain America tribute comic, which is a project that really intrigued me and interested me, but unfortunately let me down. And what it is a redoing with new artists of 2 Golden Age Captain America short stories, and then of Captain America's first appearance in the Silver Age in Avengers number 4, but with each page redrawn by a different current Marvel artist. So the very first page here is by John Cassaday and Laura Martin. It's kind of interesting. It's I don't know that it's better than what Kirby and Simon did, or Simon and Kirby, but I kind of like that page. But very quickly found myself unexcited by most of the pages. And maybe it's the nature of this project. I thought, each artist would be out there working their hardest to outshine and show off what they can really do in this kind of important showcase for modern comic book art. But instead, a lot of them just seemed to be doing just okay, passable work. They would slightly change the angles that Simon and Kirby used, sometimes slightly improve the clarity of some panels, but very few of these artists added much zing to the story, and most of them made the stories more boring than they were originally. Now, granted, the original, the Golden Age ones, Simon and Kirby were just kids doing that, and they were very crude, and people didn't have clear ideas how to do comics then. So the newer artists improve on that. Like in this first story, the John Cassaday page is nice, and then there's a nice page by David Lapham. But other than that, all of these artists almost look the same. I mean, if I flipped quickly through, I don't think I would have thought that there was a different artist. And then the second one is kind of an interesting one because it's the first appearance of the Red Skull, which was one of the many backup stories in the first issue of Captain America back in, 39 or 40? Probably 40. But nothing really stands out here. And I think one of the problems is the coloring. But that's not the main problem. Here, this page is kind of nice, that one. But the coloring doesn't give these things much excitement. In general, it's just the tone is flat, everything's well illustrated, but in a cold, flat, unexciting way, little energy. And it makes me, this page I kind of like too, but generally it makes me feel like, the modern artists are not that good. But there were actually artists in here somewhere that are artists I like, and still did not achieve that much in this case. Like, for instance, later on there was a Joe Bennett page that that wasn't that good. But Joe Bennett's been wowing me in the Hulk. Let's see. There's the Joe Bennett page there. Now, would you have gotten the same thing at other eras? Like, what if you had the early 90s artists redraw all these stories? I think it would have been a very different story. Or if you had the early 70s artists, Jim Steranko, Gene Colan, George Perez, not George Perez, he wasn't around then, Barry Smith and John Buscema redraw these things. I just think it would be more... This is just... really should have been much more interesting. Anyway, there isn't much more to say about that, but it's kind of sad. That page isn't so bad. I wonder who that is. That art looks familiar there on that page. But even the pages that are good, given that maybe it's my expectation that I was just expecting more of a showcase of how we really do things different or what special thing we bring to comics. This is a good page there too. I don't have time to keep flipping back to the contents page to figure out who all these people are. So there are good pages in the mix, but the overall impression is of kind of a blandness. Okay, so that was my number 7. Did not start off the New Comics Week that well. And so maybe some of this, maybe my grumpiness this week was due to expectations, because a number of these, that one I just thought, I hadn't planned to get it, but I saw it on the shelves and I thought, well, this could be cool. And I love Captain America, especially from the Silver Age and the Bronze Age. Anyway, then I was super excited to get Ultra Mega #1 from one of the current artists who is a really distinctive artist, although I'm starting to think there's a whole cluster of artists who are right behind him doing similar things now. But James Herron, who first, in my first knowledge of him was at BPRD, and his issues of BPRD where he drew them were always kind of special. And then he was doing a book at Image that I can't quite remember now, but was kind of about gods and weird immortal creatures and stuff that was pretty cool. And then he left it. It was something he did with James Arcudi. And now with Ultra Mega, he's throwing his hat in the ring for the crazy kaiju story. And the art is really crazy here, and the coloring by Dave Stewart. I'm just throwing open some random pages. And I would say that... So I'm putting this at number 6. I'm now regretting it, sort of. There's lots of cool little ideas and visual things going on. A lot of gross out stuff and intestines, too. But overall, as a kaiju story, I didn't get a whole lot out of it. It seemed a jumble. It seemed very poorly organized and a lot of stuff not set up well. And it's 44 pages, which should be great to get 44 pages of an artist you really like. And I love kaiju kinds of stories. But instead, that length just emphasized to me how jumbled and confused it all was. So I think if it had just been 20 pages, even if the plot was only half-baked as it is here, I might have left on a more positive note, but I felt kind of exhausted by the time I got to the end of this. Not that I'm going to drop it. I'm having too much fun with the art, and maybe he'll get better at the writing. There's an implication of a different... So it has these kind of Ultraman-like characters who've been given powers and can turn into giants to fight the kaiju. I wouldn't even, is a monster that looks like that a kaiju? The heroes, the ones fighting the monsters, look like stuff I think of from kaiju, but I don't know what counts as kaiju. I also wonder, he talks in the afterword here about a tribute to anime and manga he loved, and maybe if I had read the manga and seen the anime that he loved, maybe I wouldn't find the story as jarringly mixed up and jumbled. That's a possibility. So anyway, I think this has gotten a lot of good reviews online. I haven't checked real closely yet, but I'll keep an eye out for it. as I talk about it, I feel more excited. I love these fights with giant monsters. I love giant robots. I love people who get this power from aliens to become giant monster fighters. I just wish the story held together better. And now I'm not in the middle of struggling to read all 44 pages of it. This is the guy who gives them the power. I thought he was really cool looking. But I only later in this, it seemed like he was only giving the power to one guy, and later we discovered there's 3 guys. And one of them, and there was stuff about like the guy used to be a boxer and now works as a janitor, but his job is being taken away from a robot. But he seems to be famous and everyone knows who he is. All of that just seemed like a weird jumble to me. So I put higher than those 2 books, just because I had a lot more fun and easy time reading it. Looney Tunes. I pick up Looney Tunes, so I put that at number 5. I pick up Looney Tunes every now and then if the cover looks promising. And me and my daughter have been watching or rewatching lately, and during our COVID times when we need a lot to watch, Duck Dodgers. And so seeing Marvin the Martian and one of his Instant Martians and Daffy Duck, I thought this could be cool. And it does. It has a great Daffy Duck as salesman to Marvin the Martian story, written by Charlie Fish. If you see a kid's comic written by Charlie Fish, you are almost guaranteed that it will be a lot of fun. Charlie Fish is DC's secret weapon for these kids' comics. And I know for a little while he was co-writing Superman with Grant Morrison, and I wonder, has Charlie Fish written other comics for grown-ups? Because I'd like to see him do that. And then you got a Tweety and Sylvester story, a little mini story that was fun. And then a wacky actual Duck Dodgers story. That one was not by Charlie Fish. It was still pretty good. But in the back of my mind, I'm always thinking it's best when it's by Charlie Fish. But it was by the same set of artists who actually do this stuff very well. Let me look at the credits for those artists. There's a penciler and inker, Walter Carzon and Horatio Ottolini. So I wonder if they're European artists, but they deserve a lot of credit for really giving their all to make that Warner Brothers Looney Tunes look on the page. I imagine it's not a job that gets you much fame and fortune, so I appreciate that they do a good job on it. So in at number 4 for me, and it really could have been higher, The Black Knight, Curse of the Ebony Blade. I don't know at what point they turned the Black Knight into more like the character Elric, or his blade more like Stormbringer from Elric, but that definitely makes him an interesting character to me. They did make him kind of pitiful here on a level which I would have liked it more if it was like inner demons and inner torments, but on the surface he still manages to act cool and fool people into thinking he has his act together. But instead, everyone sort of sees he's a loser, and we get these kind of uncomfortable scenes where Thor and Captain America show their obvious distaste for him as a person, even as he helps them win the battle. But then after that, after that we get some very interesting stuff about him at his castle, and I guess the sword brings him back to life. Anyway, I don't want to give away too much. This was written by Simon Spurrier, who's a very good writer in general. I have not read much of his Marvel work, and I have in the past 10 years come to think of good writers go to Marvel, and good artists sometimes go to Marvel and become less good. But this seems quite promising. I'm looking forward to the next issue. And if there was a weakness, it was maybe in the art and color. It's not. It's actually compared, for instance, to those Captain America pages. Sorry, it's pretty good art, but it's still. I don't know. Maybe it's again the color for me that did not draw me into the page well. But I enjoyed the story and the concepts here so much I wanted an artist that I clicked with even more. Oh, there's a nice one though. This artist is doing quite a good job. I guess I shouldn't complain so much. Davila. Let's see, where did that title page go? Sergio Davila, and colors by Arif Piranto. So yeah, I don't know. Anyway, I just feel if the art had been some other artist could possibly have made this even a higher ranking book for me. So in at number 3 is Origins, and I've really been enjoying this story and talk about really good art that's distinctive and unique to itself by the art's by Jacob Reblica and the colors by Patricio Del Pecce. It's kind of dark, but it works with the story, and the dark colors work with the art style too. But here as we get closer to our climax and there's a big battle scene, I found the big battle scene less interesting. I felt kind of bored and impatient actually with this issue. So it was held up more by the art, and it was a little less strong in the script. I guess we were kind of leading here all the time, but I never thought of this as I read it earlier as the kind of book that would hinge on a big battle scene. I don't know what I feel like science and character is what's going to resolve the issues in Origin, not a big fight scene. In at number 2 is Thor. I've been picking up Thor all along. I finally caught up with it. I haven't been including it in my comic book countdowns of the past many months, because I hadn't caught up with it. But I finally caught up with it. I feel like this Prey storyline about Donald Blake coming back is a very good one. And I really enjoy the art and color. Although, if you follow me on Twitter, you saw me complaining about certain pages in here. Look, the coloring looks way better on the digital version. Because as I was reading on a bunch of issues that I'd been piling up, I was able to look on Marvel Unlimited at how they looked digitally. But this has been a really fun storyline with the evil Donald Blake and bringing together all these characters. I love particularly Lockjaw and the Frog Thor, Throg appearances. Even Doctor Strange has been kind of fun. The Jane Foster, who is now a Valkyrie, has been a really good character in this. So I'd say this issue was, again, a little less fun than some of the issues leading up to it, because we're getting more to the sense of the big fight, the big battle. And this is the penultimate issue. I have my guesses as to how it's going to resolve, but Donny Cates sometimes surprises me. But overall, I wouldn't necessarily say that Donny Cates is the best, most brilliant Thor writer. I'm not sure who is, but I do think he brings the big fun and the big ideas and keeps things moving along fast. Sometimes if you think about them too much, you say, well, wait a minute, how did that work? But he just doesn't worry about that, and he makes things keep going, and you have fun. So anyway, I ranked this at my number 2. Number 2 in a so-so week. And then at number 1, I'm putting James Stokey's new book, The Orphan and the 5 Beasts. Now, I would assume this is a 4 or 5 issue story, but with 5 beasts to fight, and he hasn't fought he's just about to fight the first of the 5 beasts at the end of this book. Maybe it will have to go 6 issues. That would be cool. A lot of Dark Horse books have now been 4-issue books rather than 6-issue minis. James Stokoe's art, which is the big attraction, does not in any way disappoint here. And he does his own coloring. I think he does his own lettering too, and he is the writer. But I really like the way he colored himself. If I had, I'm getting so picky. Maybe it's the COVID, but the COVID shutdown that has been going on so long. But if I were picky about anything, it is that the tone of the coloring does not shift that much throughout the issue in different scenes at all. But that's being picky because it is mostly very, very good coloring. And we get a hint with the first of the 5 beasts that these are going to be bizarro characters. This guy has giant muscular thighs and loves to ride horses around and destroy them, but you squish them to death with his thighs, which is kind of gross. And they're, like with Ultra Mega, maybe this is a trend amongst the hipper artists, but there's a certain level of kind of this one, and not nearly as much as Ultra Mega, but a sort of putting in gross details where you can. Like we've got right there, this guy who is the teacher of our hero. There's snot coming out of his nose, like for no particular reason. I have to say this is my number one for the week, but it's not blowing me away in terms of story. I've been another COVID watch that I've been doing with my daughter has been Airbender, Avatar, The Legend of Airbender, or whatever it's called. And a lot of the scenes and poses in here could be right out of Avatar. And of course, those scenes and poses in Avatar are right out of whatever anime and manga influenced Avatar. And so like Ultra Mega, I think I'm reading a book by someone who's a far bigger manga and anime fan than I am, and is playing with or just following the tropes of that genre, which is okay, but it doesn't get me super excited. I'm excited for Stokey's art, and I am mildly amused by the story. So that's kind of wraps up my that statement. Kind of encapsulates my week in new comic books this week. They were fun, most of them, but didn't light my brain on fire in terms of the script or the story or the characters even. The closest maybe was Black Knight in terms of the character, but some stuff fell down here. Let's see. There was something I wanted to show you guys, but now I can't find it. Oh, here we go. So I read quite a bit of other stuff this week, but the thing that really stood out to me is from a couple of weeks ago. When I was at a store searching for some back issues 2 days ago, I just saw The Goon there, and I remembered people talking about how great it was because Eric Powell is back on the art duties here. So I picked it up, and it was really great. The art was great. The story was great. And now, well, we'll see. As I'm going to search out some more Goon, because this was the first Goon I ever read, and I really loved it. And it made me think of, I don't know, somehow Will Eisner crossed with Steve Gerber, maybe, with some little bits and hints of Jack Kirby and a whole bunch of other stuff. Maybe Pogo and Little Abner and all that kind of old-time good stuff. Plus kind of the pulp fun that you get from maybe some Mike Mignola comics and everything. So I don't know what was wrong with me that I never read The Goon before. I feel like an idiot. But this is an excellent issue. You don't have to have read anything else to enjoy this issue. So if you see this lying around at a comic book shop, snap it up. Probably anything else written and drawn by Eric Powell, to judge from this one issue, I would say snap it up. Okay, thanks for joining me.